Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Rodan. So since this is the month of October, obviously I'm going to be doing nothing but spooky stuff. I mean, granted, I probably would have done this anyway because it's my favorite time of the year, and as far as I'm concerned, this is year round anyway. And also, I like the genre, I like spooky stuff anyway, so there you have it, I suppose. I'm just using this as an excuse to talk about excessive amount of it, I suppose. Anyway, for today's video, I'll be talking about the Phantom Creeps. I mean, okay, technically, yes, before anyone says anything, I already spoke about this movie. So, and that's because of the fact that in one of my previous videos, I've mentioned this multi-pack here, Legend of Horror, which contains 50 movies and a lot of the well-known actors and whatnot. And in this packet here, it contains the shortened version of the movie, which was little over an hour. And that was a review for a separate video. So I'm going to be bringing this movie up again, just the extended version of it, folks. I'm just letting you know because the version that the version I'll be discussing is nearly 2 hours. Yes, you heard me right, folks. The version I've seen is 3 hours and 41 minutes in length. And the one I'm referring to, I've watched it on Toby, by the way. So if anyone wants to watch this version, and yes, by the way, it's a lot more clearer in compared to the DVD version that I had. I mean, it's not gonna be super crisp, but I can tell it's been at least cleaned up a bit, I guess, even if it's just a little bit. At least that's how I saw it. Anyway, I will post a link down below in the description box in case anyone wants to see it, I suppose. Sure. But this is probably has to be the lengthiest horror film I've seen. Oh boy. And yes, the thing is that it started off as a TV show being stitched together, of course, as a short movie or shorter, and then later on stitched together to add the missing footage, of course. So there was that, I reckon. And there was also a DC comic based on this character as well. So that's something right there. You can look into if you want. Yeah, I said DC, the company that owns Batman and such. Oh boy, could you imagine having a story where the character Batman has to fight off like one of these like android type stuff, robot type of characters? I guess. I mean, I guess you could still make it realistic and not make it come off like so damn over the top or anything. I guess that's possible. Anyway, yada yada yada, blah 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 blah. Of course, like always, let's just talk about the plot, shall we? So let's get into it. Oh yeah. Of course, again, I'll be talking about the version I saw on Toby, by the way. So of course, going to be bits and pieces that are not in there. And but anyway, so we get to see that there was this crazy mad doctor. He attempts to want to rule the world by having these kinds of inventions, and these inventions are pretty dramatic, of course. And he's a wicked type of character. He's a crazy type of character, and yes, he's just this type of character of a scientist who is perceived as mad, bad, and dangerous to know, and all that jazz. He's just deemed insane, of course. And yes, obviously, he has this unsettling personality traits, and so yeah, he just going to this type of taboo, of course, someone thinks he's not supposed to be doing, but does anyway. The mad scientist character would just go through this kind of a thing, folks. And by the way, this is a sci-fi horror. By the way, it's labeled as a sci-fi horror, just so you know. So that kind of comes into play in here because I guess it's trying to go in this laboratory thing. When I say they, I mean the characters and whatnot. So yes, of course, this type of character will have this uh, insane type of nature to the experimentations, and of course, is something that's not considered normal whatsoever. It's not considered normal. So, if anything, this character is supposed to be this insane genius, but he's evil, an evil genius, of course. But he has a good amount of intelligence to be capable of doing certain things. So I guess he's just he doesn't like the fact that how society is. I guess he just want to ruin everything, of course. I mean, granted, this type of character has been done multiple times before. This is what you would call a stock character, of course. But this is the movie's version of this, and yes, obviously, he's not going to be some clumsy kind of doofus of a character. No, of course not. Okay, eccentric, pretty much. I'm going to definitely say he's pretty eccentric his own in a way, obviously. So there's that. He's just this type of eccentric type of character that's up to no good, obviously. And he creates this kinds of invention, of course. Yes, he may have this excessive pride, of course, in some ways, and or maybe he could be the type of person that he maybe have this overconfidence. This overconfidence might be dangerous, which of course it is, obviously. He believes in his own creation. He believes he can actually do what he wants, of course. Which I guess kind of makes him the character arrogant because of that, I guess. Well, whatever, I suppose. But all the while, yes, there's also these foreign agents, of course, and whatnot. And these agents they basically want to take care of this character, of course. This doctor character. He's like a rogue scientist. This rogue scientist is the inventor of these various weapons of warfare. And yeah, the whole warfare thing comes into play, of course, when you think about it. That's definitely a thing, of course, folks. And I guess what this character is doing, this mad scientist character, I guess you say what he's been doing has gone the intention of the United States government because he's up to no good. So there are these foreign spies operating under the guise of this kind of foreign language school or trying to buy or mostly steal of this kind of element thing while his former partner let's just say that yeah, they have their own situation with that. We're not turning divisions to the United States government and whatnot. So there's a bit of a drama, I guess, conflict when it comes to that kind of a thing. So yes, things get rather serious as a result of that. I mean, you gotta make it some kind of conflict somehow. And I guess the crazy nature of the scientist guy, of course, he's going to have an assistant, the scientist guy, I mean. He's definitely going to have some kind of assistance, of course. And not only that, you do have to keep in mind, of course, there is this robot creation that the scientist has. And this robot thing is pretty much this slave to the mad, crazy scientist individual, who's, of course, like I was saying, is up to no good, as mentioned earlier. So, yes, this robot would be used to do some evil deeds, what these evil deeds and whatnot, of course. And yes, obviously, this individual will use this robot to do carry out a lot of the like fighting or whatever thing he needs to be taken care of because there might be people out there looking for his stuff, of course, might want to stop him for good, of course. But he will use the robot in various ways to make sure that his enemies won't get what they were looking for because he wants to stop them. He wants to make sure that he is definitely not going to be. He doesn't want to be messed around with. Pretty much, he does not want to be an individual that wants to be pushed around. I guess you can say because he's confident enough. Like we were saying earlier, he wants to definitely attempt to create powerful stuff. There's also this one invention that the scientist character has. This invention could make him invincible, like see through. So there's that. It'd be temporary see through. This could be for anybody. Anybody that has this device thing would be see through, at least temporarily, I guess. So, of course, making yourself see through, transparent, could be really helpful if someone has these evil deeds and whatnot. And the character's supposed to be a bad person anyway, so of course the character, the villain, has this malicious intent. This character has this malicious intent, and obviously this character wants to do bad things to people. because he believes that he's in the right. He wants to make sure that he does not get pushed around whatsoever. And he views these people, these good people, as in the way. And of course, he wants to make sure that he doesn't get pushed around whatsoever because he wants to make sure that he will cause a lot of destruction. And throughout the longer version, he definitely caused a good amount of destruction in this version. Oh, definitely, he does. And that's kind of the point because you're supposed to dislike the bad guy. You're supposed to dislike the villain of the story. He's up to no good. Of course, there's going to be quite a bit of destruction he's going to cause throughout this movie. So again, yeah, I will post a link down below if anyone wants to see this version. Of course, I'm talking about. Just keep in mind it's almost 4 hours. Just let you know, just saying. Anyway, I'm just throwing it out there, folks. If you, of course, you can't watch it in one setting. You can always watch it bit by bit, I guess. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Yeah, there's gonna be people out there that's gonna just trying to fight him, of course. I'm trying to get rid of him, I guess, because you do have to keep in mind he has like this futuristic kind of advanced technology, I guess you can say, of course. But yeah, this is pretty much like an action-packed storyline. It's pretty fast-paced, and I guess in other words, it's like a horror thriller in some ways. It's like a horror thriller, I guess you can say. It's definitely a horror thriller. At least that's how I took it anyway. It's definitely a horror thriller, of course. And there's not one bit I felt like it was boring or anything. No, it's pretty fast paced, of course. It's pretty fast paced in the sense that it doesn't slow down. Even when it does slow down, it's only temporarily, of course, just for the right amount of time. It does not get boring or anything, thankfully. And yes, watching really lengthy movies, yes, I do realize that, of course, it can be rather, I guess, intimidating. I guess it can be rather intimidating because it's really long, which it is. And yeah, that kind of get away because you have your own things you gotta do. Maybe there's some chores you have to take care of. Maybe you have some people to meet up, like your friends, families, or whatever. That could potentially get in the way because this movie is really long. But like we're saying, you can just watch it in parts, I suppose. You can always watch it here and there, I suppose. You just watch it a bit at a time if you have to. Yeah, that's happened with me because I didn't watch it all in one setting and whatnot. I did not watch this entire thing in one setting whatsoever. And because just like everyone else, we have some stuff to do. So there's some things you have to take care of course, which is fine. But just letting you know. So it's pretty entertaining in its own little way. It's pretty entertaining for its own little way. So if anyone is a fan of this really vintage sci-fi horror kind of a thing, if this is up your alley, then definitely check out this version, of course, folks. Oh, definitely. Again, I will post a link down below for anyone that wants to see it. All right, just throwing it out there. But anyway, so yes, I do believe that this is the better version of the film compared to the one that was in the multi-pack. Because yes, obviously large chunks of the plot was removed because it was heavily shortened compared to this version, of course. And yeah, the version I've watched again is on Toby, which I will post a link down below if anyone wants to watch that one. There are other different versions of this film, by the way, just so you know, which maybe I'll check out if I want to, I guess. Sure, but for the time being, just talk about this one here, folks. Anyway, so yeah, it pretty much attempts to retain a lot of the elements that didn't appear in the shorter version of the film. So yes, unfortunately, it could lose a lot of the charm because of that. So this one contains a lot of the elements that were not there previously. So that's definitely something. This is more or less the same kind of film that you expect, but stretched long. You get a lot more scenes. I guess some things would be explained a bit better, I suppose, and whatnot. And of course, I just had to check this one out, folks. I was aware before of a different version or different versions, I should say. I just didn't know where I could come across it, and until I eventually found this version, of course. Yeah, like I said, it's about what 3 hours and 41 minutes. Yeah, it's quite lengthy. Anyway, I just thought I just might as well discuss this one since I've already discussed the other one already. So I just thought, well, I'm still doing Halloween stuff, and it's technically horror sci-fi, I guess. So it's like a combination of the two. So why not? I just thought this would be a good way to just spend a bit more time for Halloween and whatnot. Even though I eventually probably would have done this anyway, because as far as I'm concerned, Halloween's year round. And it's my favorite genre anyway, so there's that. Some spooky stuff, some crazy things going on here. Because why not? I don't see why not. Just make this interesting in some kind of way, I suppose. There's also this one blonde woman character in the film as well, and yes, she would become important to the story, and she, I guess, in some ways, trying to help out, at least to some extent, in some ways, to solve the problem. Because there's this crazy guy, he's a lunatic, he's insane. He's a mad scientist, he must be stopped because he's causing everybody in town a lot of trouble. Because I guess he's an asshole, I suppose. He must be stopped at all costs. No matter what, he must be stopped. And there you go. I mean, yes, okay, yes, he's going to be portrayed as a good person, of course, and whatnot. And I guess that does hold up in some ways because whole life is being threatened in some ways, I guess. So there's that. Anyway, I guess you have to have something at stake here, I suppose. I mean, why not? Yes, there's that. There's the whole bit with the whole idea. There was this military intelligence officer and this reporter. The reporter being the blonde lady I just mentioned a moment ago, who are trying to find this mad scientist whose crew's attentions can potentially ruin a lot of lives. So okay, there was that, and this individual, this mad scientist guy, he must be stopped at all costs, as I was saying, because he's up to no good. And obviously, he's some crazy bastard that believes in himself. He actually believes that he can do what he wants. He must succeed in his evil intentions, and he thinks he can actually do this. So of course, with someone like this, he's very dangerous. So of course he must be stopped, obviously. But of course, like we were saying earlier, this is an old movie, a really old film. It came out way back when in the 1930s. Yes, it might not be for everybody, sure, but I thought it was fine because I did enjoy this a lot more than a lot of the more recent stuff anyway. I mean, okay, yes, it's obviously a low budget film, of course. The special effects, well, let's put it this way. Of course, they're not going to have any CGI back then, of course. And yes, obviously, it's just one of these types of movies where, yes, a lot of practical stuff going on when it comes to some elements of the story, of course. But I think it adds to the charm, really, of course. The people who made this, I mean, yes, obviously, they had to work around this, of course, the limitations of the production that they have at the time. Yes, of course, it's not going to be exactly like any of the movies like Michael Bay did. I mean, he's a terrible director, honestly. Those Transformer films are so bad. Oh, well, this was way more entertaining. I mean, the special effects in the Transformer movies may be better than this, but it does not make up for a bad story. Anyway, but yes, of course, keep in mind that this was made in a time way back when, folks. For anyone that was curious, that's curious enough to give this a shot of their own, I suppose. Again, I don't expect anyone to watch this in one setting, as mentioned earlier. If you want to see it from a bit at a time, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Just get to it when you get to it, I suppose. And yes, before anyone asks, yes, Toby's free, by the way. You don't have to add in your credit card or anything nothing like that. It's not one of those type of things. The site itself would pay for said movie. So there you go. And just throwing it out there for those who don't know. But anyway, let's just wrap things up. Let's just finish things up here, folks. Yes, obviously the special effects are going to be limited, of course, but the people behind this, we're trying to be creative, I guess, I suppose. And I didn't mind watching this again because I did like the other version, but I will admit, as I mentioned earlier, I do think that this is a more improved version because it does have a lot of the scenes that were not previously in the other version. So there's that. So I guess it's fine in that sense. This, if anything, it's my preferred version to watch. Again, if someone have the time for it, that is. Assuming so. But anyway, and yeah, the one actor who played the original Dracula, he's in here. Yeah, he's the villain of the story. The guy who played the one actor who played the original Dracula, the one from the 1930s, he's in here. I mean, yes, you can always argue that he's been typecast because he's always playing the villain, of course, like in like literally what in every movie. But I mean, you can tell he didn't mind it really. And you can obviously tell that he really enjoyed playing these kinds of roles, and you can tell in this one he really lived it up. He really just ate up the role, so to speak. And I guess he was trying to make the most out of it, I suppose, and and whatnot. So okay, there was that. Of course, I mean, good for him, I suppose. He enjoyed this role, of course. And but yeah, I would highly recommend seeing this version, of course. And again, assuming you have the time for it, that is, of course. Again, just see it in bits if you have to. Anyway, yada yada, so on and so forth. I did enjoy it for what it's worth, of course. I actually didn't mind it really. And ultimately, I can definitely say that he does have a sense of an adventure. He feels adventurous in his own little way, so that's definitely a good thing. I mean, of course, I've seen other movies where they were originally a TV show, then just stitched together as a movie. This was not the only time that this kind of thing had occurred. Of course not. I'm just putting it out there. This is nothing new. This has happened before with other stuff. It's maybe to save money on costs or whatever. Or maybe some scenes will be altered so the flow of the pacing will be different. Maybe some music might be changing as well. So yeah, this kind of thing was done before, obviously. So this version could even still be somewhat tweaked up even here as well. Just throwing it out there. But anyway, as far as this movie is concerned, it's fine, I suppose. I did like the scenery. I thought the scenery, whether it's within the indoors or outdoors, I was fine. The lighting is pretty good though. The lighting isn't too bad, I suppose, because you can actually see the people who are trying to act out their characters and whatnot. You can actually see what they're trying to do here, of course. So in that regard, it's pretty competently made. Yes, despite the cheap production, it's pretty competently made. Of course, I can say that. It's well choreographed, all things considered. Of course, you can tell the people who were behind this actually had some kind of idea of what to do, how to set the camera, the placement of the actors and actresses, with the items, the props, and all that, and the set designs, of course, all of which were pretty nicely done. Again, all things considered, of course, in that regard. So you can see the rooms, like the type of mood that was trying to be set up here, of course, throughout the entire thing. And I mean, of course, you could have a discussion. Should horror films really be this long? Should horror films really have this kind of length? And I guess typically no. Usually, horror movies might be like maybe 72 minutes, 90 minutes, somewhere around there. After that, it might be deemed like excessive, maybe. And I mean, maybe to some extent, that might be true. I guess it just depends how it's done, I suppose, maybe. Anyway, I'll give this version a Nova rating of a 7.2 out of 10. It's a 7.2 out of 10 for me. So, of course, as always, thanks for watching and take care. Until next time, see ya. Oh, yeah. Later.